Gross for one, gross for all. We play with a mad ball. We play with a mad ball. We play with a mad ball.
Crazy distress, that's the way that I get things done. From now to depression, then I sleep too long and I hang around like a bomb. I think I'm going nowhere and that makes me nervous. Everybody's at the game, but I feel alright. Everybody's at the game, but I feel alright. Everybody's at the game, but I feel alright. Everybody's thinking about me, but I feel alright. Everybody's at the game, but I feel alright.
Some of you were disappointed last week. You thought my decision to talk about the design of Shelob in Shadow of War precluded me from talking about the microtransactions in Shadow of War. It was seen as a zero-sum game. Why did you talk about this? Why aren't you talking about that? Despite me in the episode explaining why, I hadn't got around to it yet. More importantly, oh, you naive fools. You faithless, doubtless, little fools. When it comes to Warner Brothers Interactive, hatred isn't a zero-sum game, and the greatest showman in games media, James fucking Sterling Sun, has more than enough to go around. So, if you are here, your patience has been rewarded, for in the words of House Sterling, Monday is coming. I mean, Monday's here, technically, because this goes up on a Monday, so it's not coming, it's... What do the Starks say when it's winter? Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor was a brilliant game. I think I've expressed that before in the past. While structurally indistinct from dozens of other rote big-budget open-world games, the careful world-building and widely praised Nemesis system, whereby enemies would gain personalities and traits upon killing the player, were truly transformative. One of the surprisingly brilliant games of 2014, it was inevitable a sequel was on the cards. And I suppose, inevitably, evil publisher Warner Brothers would do what it could to fuck up all the goodwill and turn the series into another cynical cash cow. If you haven't heard the news by now, brace yourself. Loot boxes are coming to Shadow of War. Yep, that's right. The glorified gambling that made Overwatch feel unrewarding and has steadily come to infest the world of so-called AAA video games is being ham-fistedly shoveled into Lord of the Rings. Because if there's one thing J.R.R. Tolkien praised in his books, it was paying for random advantages and easy roads to power. Shadow of War introduces the market, where you can buy items for use with the Nemesis system. This includes orcs themselves, found in so-called war chest. Yes, the enemies, the stock and trade followers, the driving force behind the Nemesis system, can not just be found as part of the world like they should be, but can actually be pulled out of imaginary treasure chests in exchange for real-world money. At random, of course, because who'd keep pumping money directly into Warner Brothers' dickhole if we could choose the things we buy? As if that wasn't enough, and let's face it, the fucking contents of El Dorado aren't enough for WB, you can buy loot chests, XP boosts, and bundles. Backing this bollocks up is, of course, the classic free-to-play economy, where currency is divided into the free, useless shit, and the premium stuff that costs real-world money and can be found in tiny quantities as in-game rewards. Look forward to juggling Mirian, the bullshit currency, and gold, the real currency. They do this so that you get the bullshit currency to feel like you're invested in something. Like, I've already got all this money, so I've got to keep playing the game even though it's bullshit. And that in turn, hopefully for them, inspires you to spend the actual money. We all know how this works. We're not fucking stupid, Warner Brothers. As always, the spokespeople behind this dick splash move defended it with the usual hollow and pathetic excuses. Oh, you can still unlock everything in-game. This is just to hurry things up. You don't have to buy premium currency. No one's gonna need it. Oh, Fuck off with that. Those excuses are old and tired and just sound like a crawling, spineless fucking lickspittle when you parrot them like a fucking parrot. Fuckhead parrot. As ever, the "you don't have to buy it" justification is total toss when you consider that the publisher wouldn't have forced microtransactions in there to begin with if they didn't want you to buy them and weren't going to work to make them as tempting as friggin' possible. And once again, I posit to the question, if you need to keep selling microtransactions to us by talking about how ignorable and unimportant they are, how can you believe you've created something of worth and value? You haven't. You simply haven't. What you've done is preyed upon, I fucking say, those with potentially harmful gambling tendencies to double dip on your product, exploit both your critically acclaimed work and the customers who love it, and further contribute to an utter pox, a blight on the world of video games that will continue to spread, get more audacious, and ultimately ruin many future games because too many come out of the woodwork and defend this indefensible shit every goddamn fucking time. All the gold does is unlock stuff immediately rather than later, simpers WB's propagandists. Yeah? So what you're saying is it's more valuable to not play the game you just spent $60 on. That's what you're saying. No, that's actually what you're bloody saying, matey boy. Consider this. If you're paying to skip stuff, it implies the stuff isn't worth playing. And if it isn't worth playing, why is it in the game to begin with? In fact, by adding an explicit value to the time saved, you're suggesting the time spent is worth less than nothing. The time spent playing the game is worthless. The only reasonable conclusion is that the grinding exists solely to support microtransactions, which is like me coming to your house, smashing all your windows, and then selling you some glass. Invent a problem, sell a solution. I suppose it's easier than making money the honest way. And if we don't think these microtransactions are ham-fistedly shoveled in without regard to gameplay or player enjoyment, let us not forget what we learned about Deus Ex Mankind Divided and how the monetized elements were hurriedly rushed in during the final weeks and would completely upset the game's balancing if purchased. Companies have long stopped caring whether microtransactions make sense for their game. Hell, the fact we're getting paid loot boxes, fucking loot boxes, for a single-player campaign is just so utterly ridiculous, but you can bet your fucking ring pieces that companies are looking to make it the new normal. Shadow of War will let those willing to give more of their money to Warner Brothers instant access to, well, damn near everything as far as I can friggin' tell. When you can purchase goddamn orcs to follow you, as well as XP and gear for the protagonist, you've pretty much pulled your game's arse cheeks apart and invited your VIP customers to reach in, root around and pull out the guts. Getting an orc from a war chest is the same as dominating one in-game, said WB's community manager. So if you want a legendary orc in-game, you can go find one or go through the market. Which again suggests that it's a waste of your time to actively play the game, since it's worth money not to play it. This inherent devaluing of gameplay across the industry is just utterly wretched to begin with, to say nothing of how publishers keep doing further damage with their miserable justifications. Justifications that they keep having to make every time they turn a premium game into a fee-to-pay game, every time they avariciously grasp for extra doubloons on top of the not inconsiderable sum they've already built out of you up front. And that's before we get to the season passes, extra DLC, and multiple special editions they all exploit the shit out of now. Oh, game development is so expensive, they need to make their money back somehow, people keep fucking saying. When do they not make the money back? If you're not making your money back at the point of sale, if you're not making your money back after the season passes and the downloadable content and the extras and the special editions and the digital deluxes, if you genuinely, and I don't believe it, but if you genuinely truly need microtransactions on top of all of that stuff, get out of the fucking game industry because you don't belong here. You're clearly bad at business. Fuck off. And let us not forget that Shadow of More Dollars has tacked on multiplayer to the proceedings because, of course. Aping Metal Gear Solid 5, players will be able to use their dominated orc armies to attack the online fortresses of others, with a tied-in ranking system to boot. What a lovely way to make those microtransactions, that fee-to-pay, multiple currency, con merchant's wet dream filth, all the more tantalising to players who want a fast track to success. My precious indeed. Microtransactions in $60 games were already inexcusable for any reason, as publishers warped the free-to-play model and graspingly removed the free aspect. Having sufficiently proven by now they can get away with it, make tons of money, and have an army of devil's advocates behind them, we are only seeing them get worse and worse. Loot boxes are gambling. Gambling in premium games you've already paid for, and it's fucking disgusting. And yes, I know it's not literally gambling, but functionally, it's the same bloody thing, come on. You're giving Warner Brothers money to spin a roulette wheel for a chance to win something at the risk of getting a load of shit. Colloquially, I absolutely call it gambling, if nothing else for the fact that it further demeans and insults an economy that deserves only demeaning and insulting. But of course, those who argue that technically it's not gambling are correct. After all, gambling is subject to scrutiny, regulation and age restriction, is it not? The latest evolution of microtransactions in retail games, the casino-inspired bollocks I like to call micro-wagers, makes my fucking skin crawl. These things are exploitative, taking all the psychological manipulation and potent addictive qualities of gambling but without any of the oversight, all in a despicable attempt to mine cash from the wallets of so-called whales and dolphins and other dehumanizing terms for customers. For those who defended this shit in Overwatch because it was just cosmetic, those who justified free-to-pay games in general for all the weak, limp validations I've already just mocked, please remember what publishers are like when you give them a fucking ounce of leeway. An iota of trust. A microscopic soupçon of an excuse. They will always, without fail, as they've always done, take the piss out of you. Also, they talk about you like you're fucking sea animals. Let's get some fucking dignity back, people! And a final note, to whomever it may concern. This show sometimes gets passed around the industry as high as corporate top brass, so there's always a slight chance that the person or persons who made this call for Shadow of Warbucks will see this. And I'd just like to personally let you know from the bottom of my heart that you are scum. You disgust me for perpetuating an exploitative and destructive cancer on the video game industry, for taking advantage of your customers and the quality work your developers do. You're a real piece of human shit, you know that? And I hope someone finds a way to ruin something you enjoy doing. Probably like cocaine snorted off a dog's cock, or whatever it is you fucking executive shit squirts are into. And furthermore, I hope you No, I didn't need this today. Just a friendly reminder that Warner Brothers Interactive in general is a hive of scum. As always, I feel the need to point out that for as much shit as Electronic Arts and Ubisoft and Konami and Activision get, all well-deserved, mind, Warner Brothers Interactive, possibly because we think of it as a film company first, tends to get overlooked. But when you actually take a gander at what that company does with its content carving, its pre-order nonsense, its bugs that it doesn't patch because it's too busy working on DLC, its DLC practices, its fee-to-pay content, Warner Brothers Interactive is fantastic at taking great games, truly wonderful games, and ruining them to bloody fuck. Warner Brothers Interactive is a load of puking shit, and I've also heard, and this is just through the grapevine, they get pissy about negative coverage and blacklist like companies and outlets and reviewers and stuff. So I've got that on good authority. So fuck them. I mean, I'm already blacklisted, they won't have anything to do with me. It's a good thing that happened before today's video, which definitely would have sealed the deal, because I hate Warner Brothers Interactive, and I hate that they have really good games that they piss and shit all over. So Warner Brothers Interactive, you can have one of these right up yourself, get yourself around this through your ass. And while you're doing it, because it will be pleasurable, because I've got healing fingers, you can thank God for me at the same time. How about that?